بیننده های عزیز تلویزیون زرین، شما را باز هم خوش آمدید میگم به برنامه سیمای زن. سلام و احترامات خدا در هر نقطه دنیا گوشه و کنار که هستین برتان تقدیم میکنم. امید است که لباس صحت و عافیت برتن داشته باشین. امروز من در یکی باغ‌های بسیار مقبول بوتانیکال گاردن در شهر برکلی در کالیفرنیا هستم. خواستم که این برنامه را برتان کمک تغییر بیارم، در بیرون ثبت کنم و تشکر میکنم از میستیکال استودیو که این برنامه را اینا به عهده گرفتن، ثبتش، کامرا و همه چیز از این برنامه را. سعید جان انصاری، میستیکال استودیو، اینا این برنامه را سپورت کردن و مرا کمک کردن که من بتانم امروز در اینجا این برنامه خود داشته باشم. بیننده های عزیز، من امروز میمان بسیار خاص دارم. تریسی دایر، دختر دکتر وین دایر، یکی از استادا معلمای است که من سخت به کار از اینا علاقه دارم. اینا اضافه تر از 43 کتاب نوشتن و پدر موتیویشن، به نام پدر موتیویشن در امریکا نامشان یا نیکنیمشان یا تک کلامی که برش استفاده میکنن یا نامی که برش دادن، به خاطر از 40 سال اضافه تر به مردم خدمت کرده. پدر روحانی است و همه گیره پس میاره به طرف اصلیت ما که از کدام جای اوریجن ماست، از کجا آمدیم، پس به کجا میریم، چه رقم ما برگردیم باید به روح خود، به سول خود، و چه رقم زندگی را باید ما بتانیم که از یک زاویه مقبول و زیبا ببینیم که اصلا هیچ تصورش زیاد ما کده نمیتونیم. و از امو خاطر است که همیشه گم زندگی میکنیم و نارام هستیم، جگرخون هستیم، فکر میکنیم که چرا در زندگی ما این کار شد. نمیتونیم که از اما حالت غم و رنج یا خدا بکشیم ببینیم مقبولی زندگی را. حتی در وقت خرابترین وقت زندگیتان، رنجتان و خرابترین بدبختی که شما فکر میکنین که از این حالت برابر نمیتونین و یک حالت بسیار بد است. فکر میکنین که شما دیگه آسیب زده هستین و بدبخترین انسان دنیا هستین. وین دایر امو کس است که در اونمو حالت بر شما زندگی زیبا را براتان نشان میده. زیبایی را در خرابترین لحظه زندگیتان شما را متوجه میسازه و میگه که همیشه باید سر خود تکیه کنین و سلف ریلاینس براتان یاد میده که چه رقم باید زندگی را دید، واقعا از کدام دید ببینیم. و همیشه اینا داشته های رومی از مولانا را فالو میکنن، از او الهام میگیرن، انسپایر شدن، که بر ما واقعا افتخار است که رومی را ما همیشه میگیم که رومی از افغانستان است. و من خوش دارم که ما شما باید ببینیم و پند بگیریم از داشته های رومی، از اشعار بسیار مقبولشان و از پرینسیپال که همیشه یاد میده که یعنی پس برگردیم از جایی که آمدیم و از جایی که آمدیم همش از عشق و از محبت سرچشمه گرفته. باید پس بیاییم رجوع کنیم به ذات پاک خداوند که خودش محبت است و عشق است. و وین دایر هم امیر درس میده و قصه های زندگیش و از کجا زندگی رو شروع کرده. به مثل یک طفل بسیار خرد که پدرش یک انسان بوده که مثلا شراب میخورده، he was a drug addict. مادرش ایدا کرده امرای 3 طفل، 3 بچه در وقتهای بسیار خراب زندگی. و این خانم که چون نمیتونسته، در وقت Great Depression بوده در 1930s، نتونسته که 3 اولاد خود، 3 بچه خود پیش خود داشته باشه و بر از اینا اعاشه و عبادت کنشانه. در یک جای کار میکرده، تنها $17 در ماه معاش میگرفته که مجبور شده که 3 تا بچه خود ببره در یکی از اورفنجا یا یتیم خانه، اونا را بگذاره تا که زندگی خود بهتر بسازه که بتونه که اولادای خود پس بگیره. وین دایر اونمو طفل خرد است که در مابین یک اورفنج، از او اورفنج یاد گرفت زندگی را، از خرابترین کس دارک و مشکلترین زندگی را در بسیار زمان طفولیتش برش آمد و یاد گرفت که زیبایی را چه رقم پیدا کنه و امو زیبایی را برای ما، برای شما، برای همگی درس میده که چه رقم میتونین که شما یک تغییر بیارین در جامعه، یک تغییر در دنیا. من عقیده دارم که وین دایر بسیار یک امپکت بزرگ و کلان در سر امریکا بر مردم خود و در تمام دنیا داره. کتاباش به زبانهای مختلف ترجمه شده. تنها من ایره نمیفهمم که به زبان فارسی کدام چیز ترجمه شده از وین دایر یعنی، و من علاقه دارم، آرزو دارم که یک روز از کتابای از اینا ترجمه شده به زبان فارسی که شما بخونین که چقدر کانسپت لایف یا فلسفی، فلسفه زندگی از اینا مقبول و زیباست. اگه واقعا ما او را پشتش بگیریم و گوش بدیم، بسیار زندگیتان به یک زندگی که هر لحظهش معجزه است تبدیل میشه. و ما ایره خودم برای خود یافتیم، پیدا کردیم که واقعا زندگی مرا نوشته های وین دایر، کتابایش، آدیو بوکش، سمینارایش، ورکشاپایش که ما گرفتیم و ما ایره خودم برای خود یافتیم، پیدا کردیم که واقعا زندگی مرا نوشته های وین دایر، کتابایش، آدیو بوکش، سمینارایش، ورکشاپایش که ما گرفتیم، این همش برای ما یک تغییر بسیار خاص را آورده. و ما خودم همیشه کوشش کردیم که در زندگی، در خرابترین لحظات زندگی، مقبولی زندگی رو پیدا کنم، زندگی را از زاویه مختلف ببینم. و ما زیادتر وقت موفق شدیم و مسیج ما، پیام ما همیشه عشق و محبتی که به زندگی داشتیم و اعتبار و عقیده و ایمان قوی که به خداوند داشتیم، امو مرا نجات داده از هر حالت خراب و از هر حالت بد مرا کشیده. دوباره پس ما تونستیم که زندگی را اثر بگیرم و بسیار خوبی و بهتر و پیش ببرم. و ما یک ذره نیست زیاد کردت از ایره به یکی بس کتابای وین دایر هم میتونم پاور اف اینتنشن. ما زیاد وقت پیش خود فکر میکردم، خو میدیدم که میفتم این کارا میکنم در زندگی، کارا میکنم، مردم میخوایم کمک میکنم، مگم همیشه پیشم یک شک بود که میگفتم که چطور میشه که مردم گوش نکنه گپ ما، میشه که نتونم، چطور که اگه ناکام بانم، از هر چیز میترسم. مگم وقتی که واقعا امی کانسپت لایف از اینا را یا از کتابای از اینا یاد گرفتم، فالو کردم، پاور اف اینتنشن اینا، ما تونستم که دیگه خودم برای خود بهانه جور نکنم، در سر خود لیمیت نمانم. از طریق اعظمی نوشته های از اینا ما زیادتر تانستم که برای ما قوت بخشید، برای ما امید داد که ما برم باید کوشش کنم، کوشش خدا بکنم. اگر نشد حداقل نمیگم که ما کوشش نکردم. امی کار ما برای کلتان میخوایم آرزو میکنم که همتان یگانه the biggest message یا کلان بزرگترین پیام که اگه من سبا نباشم براتون پیام براتون میتم که سر خود کار بکنین، سر خود اینوست کنین، پیسه سرتان خرج کنین، وقتتان خرج کنین به یاد گرفتن، فرا گرفتن که چه رقم شما میتونین که شخص خدا بهتر بسازین. به خاطر ما همیشه کوشش میکنیم که دور پیش خدا بهتر بسازیم، دیگه انسان‌ها رو تغییر بدیم. مگم کل کانسپت زندگی میایه سر ازی که خود تغییر بدیم. اونم یک نفر، شما همیشه میگیم که اگه ما یک نفر چنج کرده بتونیم، کوشش کنیم که اون نفر چنج کنیم، امور از خود شروع کنیم که خود تغییر بدیم، زندگی را به شکل درستش ببینیم و بتونیم که او وقت که یک دفعه ما خود شناختیم و فهمیدیم و پیدا کردیم و تانستیم بهتر ساختیم، بعد از ما میتونه که چیز خوبتر بار به ما دیگران رو تغییر بدیم. پس هیچ وقتی که در سر ایژوکیشن تان میاد، در سر ازی میاد که شما خود بهتر بسازین، درس بخونین. درس تنها این نیست که مثلا درس مکتب یاد بگیرین از مثلا از موتیویشنال سپیکرز، از نفرایی که از زندگی سختش مثل وین دایر، مثل انتونی تونی رابینز، مثل لوئیس هیب، مثل هزار یکیش از کارولین میز. من نمیفهم که کدامشان اولتر براتون نام بگیرم. گریگ بریدن، so many of them که من هر کدام از اینا را کتابشان میخوانم، امرشان کار میکنم. لس براون، ما اگه بشونم براتون بگویم که ما چقدر خواندیم، ما چقدر زحمت کشیدیم، چقدر پیسه خرج کردیم در هر سمینار. ورکشاپ های از اینا ارزان نیست دوستای عزیزم که ما فکر کنیم که یک ورکشاپ است. شما مثلا امروز یک کنسرت میشه، در کنسرت $35 تیکتش میباشه، میگیم نمیتیم، $35 است. اگه یک جای بگوییم که اینجا یک سمینار است که ما را یک چیز یاد میده، میگیم که $10 تیکتش است، او را میگیم نو وی، این $10 بالک ما برو وقتم ضایع میشه. کدام وقتتون؟ وقتی که شیشتین جگرخونی میکنین، رنج میبرین و به سر چیزایی که اصلا مانا نداره وقتتون ضایع میکنین، بهتر است که من میگم که هزارها دلار هیچ چیزی که نمیکنین. برای من امروز میفهمین از یک نان خوب کده که من برم نان در یک رستوران مفشل نان بخورم پیسه بدم، از او کده مهم است که من بسیار یک نان ساده میخورم. زیاد وقت میفهمین چقدر نان سمپل است، قروتی تیار کنین بخورین، چقدر آسان است. یک نان هیچ مطرح. اول بهترین کاری که میکنین سر درستان، سر بهتر ساختن خود کوشش کنین. ما میفهمین که هیچ کس پرفکت نیست. بسیار اشتباهات ما بسیار زیاد اشتباهات داشتیم در زندگی، به حد و به اندازه کلشم از و دیگه بدبختی هایی بوده که من فکر میکنم که وقت بدبختی مگم، اما بدبختی های من کلش به خوشبختی تبدیل شده و براهای یک بدبختی را که من فکر میکنم بدبختی است، او درهای را بر من باز کرده که نهفته دمو بدبختی که من فکر میکنم خداوند بر من معجزات روان کرده. و من ایرا میخوایم که بر شما یاد بدم و بر شما بگویم که امروز اگه یک روز زندگیتان مانده، اگه $1 هم دارین سر خود خرج کنین به بهتر ساختن خود، به کتاب خواندن، بر شنیدن کسای، بر معلمای، بر ماستر گروز. Anybody that inspires you, you go after that, make yourself better, and then find that motivation within you. All these people, they are here to teach you که کل چیزایی را که شما از بیرون از خود میپالین, it's all within you. بعد اینا شما را گاید میکنن. تنها یادتان میتونه، مرا یاد دادن که من چه رقم همه خوبیایی که در خود نهفته دارم چه رقم او را من اکسس کنم، به دست خود بگیرم، ببینم از او یک چیز خوب بار بیارم. پس همتون، من کدام آدم فوق العاده نیستم، از هیچ کدامتون بهتر نیستم. من یک دختر شرمندوک که به خود اصلا اعتبار نداشتم، اصلا نمیتونستم که امروز مقابل شما استاد شام و گپ بزنم. اینا مرا تغییر داده و ما اگه تانستیم که با اقا کم جرأتی، با اقدر چیزی که من خدا فکر میکردم، بدبختیایی که من فکر میکردم داشتم در زندگی، اگه ما تانستیم که خدا تغییر بدم، امروز بیایم پیام بر شما بیارم، شما هر کدامتان میتونین که کارا بکنین. ما از هیچ کدامتان که بلندتر نیستم، فوق العاده نیستم. شما همتان همو خوبی و مقبولی و زیبایی را در زندگی دارین، به خود نهفته دارین که هر انسان دیگه داره. بیاین عزیزایم، بیننده های عزیز، خانم های عزیز، برادر های عزیز، این برنامه سیمای زن است. مگم سیمای زن برای همه تان است. ما همیشه همراهتان تقسیم میکنم که ما چه رقم خدا بهتر ساختیم، چی باعث شده، چطور تانستم که بکنم. نه ای که ما یاد گرفتیم از کل شما پد کنم و بر شما بیایم خدا نشان بدم، بگیم که او ما چقدر یاد دارم و در اینجا رسیدیم. هیچ کس همونطور آسان به یک جای نمیرسه. زامتای تکلیفای زندگیش میرسانش و دیگه ای که عقیده و ایمان داشته باشه و کوشش کنه که خدا بهتر بسازه. وقتتان زیاد نمیگیرم، توجهتان جلب میکنم به انترویوی تریسی دایر که دکتر وین دایر، تریسی دایر دخترشان است و امروز ما ایرا میخوایم بر شما انترویو کنم که از نقطه نظر از اینا پدر خود چه رقم میبینن با زندگی بر از اینا که ما فکر میکنیم با زندگی بر از بسیار آسان میبود. پدرش یک آدم است که در تمام امریکا و جهان وین دایر همگی میشناسه. تریسی دایر باید تیج در لایف خود زحمت نمیکشید، میگه پدرم وین دایر است دیگه، من باید آرام یک جای بشینم، کل همه چیز بر من مهیا میشه و میسر میشه میرسه. مگم ببینین قصه ازی بر من بسیار شیرین است و جالب است و من بسیار دوست دارم که شما خانما از جایتان بخیزین، بلند شوین، تغییر بهتر و مثبت به خود بیارین و یک رول عمده را در جامعه بازی کنین. یک کار بکنین که یک تغییر بیایه، یک تغییر مثبت بیایه و همتون این کار کردن میتونین. تنها یگانه کاری که میکنین سر خود اعتبار کنین و بفهمین که میتونین. هیچ چیز نیست در زندگی که شما نتونین. یگانه کسی که شما رو نمیمانه که بکنین اونم گپایی که بر خود میزنین، شکایی که در فکرتان دارین که ای چطور میشه، بازیت نمیشه، اوت نمیشه، نمیتونم، بانه جور میکنین، اونمو را از سرتان بکشین. و همتان، من براتان بسیار زیاد عقیده دارم بر شما خانما و امید دارم که به خیر شما همتان به یک جای بسیار خوب و خوشبخت میباشین. با او مقصد و مرامتان که نیت خوب باشه و به نفع همه انسانهای دیگه در دنیا باشه. یک کاری که بزرگتر از خودتان، تنها بر شخص خودتان نباشه. اگر شما همون رقم زندگی رو ببینین و همیشه به خدمت دیگران خود قرار بدین، از هر نگاه که بگوین که کار نکنین، که بگوین ما همیشه به این فکر هستیم یک کس برای کس کار میکنیم، میگیم که what's in it for me، بر من اینجا چیست، فایدهش به من چیست. اگر ما همین حالت خود تغییر بدیم، بگویم که من چه رقم میتونم بر شما خدمت کنم، چه رقم میتونم کمک کنم. این کسایی که من میبینم در جامعه کامیونیتی امریکایی همشان که موفق شدن، اینا همیشه به خدمت مردم بودن. یک کس دیگر رو پرسان کردن که ضرورت تو چیست، ضرورت از رو پیدا کردن. مثل تریسی ضرورت خانواده دید که یک دانه بگ یا دستکول زیباتر خوبتر کار دارن که برای کامپیوتر خود، برای لپتاپ خود کامپیوتر نه لپتاپ، برای لپتاپ خود، برای همه چیزای خود که هم زیبا باشه و هم بسیار آسان باشه. ضرورت پیدا کرد، خود به خدمت مردم گذاشت. ایناله هم ضرورت مردم پورا شد، هم بزنس خانم جور شد، هم بهترین پیسه حال درست میکنه و خوش آمد است که میگه که she doesn't feel که او باش بگه که من یارم مفروشم، بزنس میکنم. اولین ایده ازی بوده که من چه رقم بتونم خدمت کنم، همین مشکلی که خانما داره من ایره چه رقم حل کنم. سعی کنین ببینید شما خود دونمو حالت پرتین، ضرورت پیدا کنین، بعد از اون نظر به ضرورت یک چیز ایجاد کنین، اختراع کنین. پیسه، پول، دارایی همش به قدمای شما خود مندازه. تشکر از توجهتان. شما تماشا میکنین برنامه سیمای زن از طریق تلویزیون زرین. امروز ما اضافه زیاد گپ زدم. ما میخوایم که تریسی دایر ازش تشکری کنم که امروز وقت کشیدن برای شما خانم‌های عزیز که قصهشون همراه شما شریک کنیم. Tracy, you know what? Thank you so much for listening to all of that.
I didn't understand a word, but
I know, but what did you think? Well, first of all, thank you so much for making the time. It's such an honor to be here with you. and for you to make the time and then drive about 7 miles.
About 7 miles. It wasn't
About 7
yeah, it
miles.
wasn't that far.
And come to this beautiful garden and
Yeah.
making the time. And I know when I talked to you, when I met you at the conference, it was so inspiring to me. And I look for women that they have done something with their lives. So I can share their stories and I can bring it to my audience. I have Persian and Afghani audience. And I want to tell them that, hey, you know what? You can change your life. And then the biggest thing that I always, every time you know what, we're all human beings. We have contrast in our lives. I go through something and I remember what Dr. Wayne Dyer, he says, change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So now go ahead, take it away, introduce yourself, and then I'll come back to my questions.
Okay. My name is Tracy Dyer, and I am the founder of a company called Urban Junket. We make handbags and laptop bags for women. We make all kinds of accessories out of eco-friendly materials, sustainable materials, and we sell them all over the world. I'm the oldest daughter of Dr. Wayne Dyer, which in your introduction, the only words I understood were
Wayne Dyer, Wayne Dyer.
Tracy Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. So, not sure. Hopefully all that you were saying was good.
Well, I don't know about
yeah,
that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know about that. That's why I
Big
speak
jerk.
Farsi.
So, yeah, I am the oldest daughter. There's 8 of us. 6 girls and 2 boys.
Oh my God,
And
that
we-
must have been tough.
Yeah.
6 girls.
Yeah, and there's a
feel
22-year
sorry.
age gap between me and the youngest.
How did you do? You did all the babysitting?
I did a lot of babysitting.
Okay, good. Now, do you have kids?
I do not.
Is that why you don't have any
Yeah,
kids?
I know that. Everybody says that.
You're done, you go
Yeah,
like,
I'm
okay,
like,
I've done
oh,
enough.
I took care of kids for a lot. I've changed a lot of diapers. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it was in the cards for me this time around. So I have a lot of brothers and sisters and a lot of nieces and nephews and godchildren, and I love spending time with them, and I love kids, and but just.
Tracy, you were Dr. Wayne Dyer's daughter. Did you have to work? Why do you have to work?
Yes, I did have to work. It's a little bit of a calling of something that I've always wanted to do, and not necessarily resting on the laurels of my father. But my father used to joke around all the time and tell us that he's wealthy. We were just children going to school, and we were lucky to have food and shelter and things like that. And it was, he had made his way in the world, and he was a wealthy man, but
He was
we're not
born,
wealthy.
But he was not born wealthy.
No,
My
he was.
audience does not know much. I'm thinking that they don't know much because when I talk to a lot of people and I ask them and I go like, hey, listen, do you know Dr. Wayne Dyer? I'm like always excited about his seminars, about his books and everything. And I go like, no. And then most of them, they don't. But I really want to introduce Dr. Wayne Dyer to my audience and all the women, and his books. They are just such treasure for me. And I use them all the time. And I love how he lifts your spirit up. And in the darkest days, the darkest times in your life, you just pick up his book, one of his audios, and then look at the way he looks at life, and then you just come out of it right away.
Right.
And a lot of times you're like, I go like, you know what, I'm like out there like you. I have a purpose, I have a calling, and I want to follow that purpose and calling. You get beat down, you think that you're gonna fail, you think you're not gonna get there, but then I read his book, The Power of Intention.
Yeah, that's a great book. I think that's his
Yes.
best book.
Yeah.
Don't tell him. He thinks
love
all of his books are his best
The
book.
Power of Intention.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that.
Yeah.
And then the way how he has changed
Yeah.
the world around him.
Right.
And then who he has become. And then he is just this person, has his energy, his presence. It's just, I'm in awe when I think about him. I really love him, and I really want my people, my Afghan and Persian people, to really go and look into Wayne Dyer's tapes, books, anything you see with Wayne Dyer, you gotta buy it, you have to read it, you have to act by his philosophy. And Wayne Dyer عاشق رومیست و Wayne Dyer از رومی الهام گرفته. He was inspired by Rumi's poems and his philosophy of life and principles. So ما نمیفهمم, I really don't know که ما چرا الهام نمیگیریم از رومی, ما چرا پند نمیگیریم از رومی و چرا serious نمیگیریم. Tracy, back to you. I'm trying to go in between, cut you
Yeah.
off. I'm sorry, I'm like
No,
talk
that's
too much.
okay.
So you had to work. Okay, and then you had this little calling. And then what's a calling to you?
It was, to figure out how would I be most authentically me this time around. And I worked for many years in the corporate world. I worked in corporate America, and I worked for a lot of big companies that a lot of people know, News Corp, and I worked for Clear Channel, and I worked for Best Buy, and I worked for many years in big corporate jobs doing marketing and trying to figure out how to create brands and communicate those brands effectively to people all around the world. But what I really loved to do was to design. Yeah,
okay.
and so I always saw the need for improving things, for changing things, for making things simpler, or for making things better for the way that people did things. And because I travel so much, and I did travel a lot for work, one of the things that I thought was I could apply my talents to was in making the way people travel a little bit better, and especially the way women travel. So, and it's funny, I go to airports really early all the time. I show up and I watch people schlepping bags and schlepping things and struggling with their travels and things like that. And I think, how can I make that better? And how can I make it simpler?
So you just made my travel so easy. As you know, I was in LA yesterday. I drove back, I got home 2:30 in the morning. I barely got any sleep, but I was so excited that I couldn't even go to sleep, even when I was last night, I thought I passed out, but my mind was with her. And I go, I hope, how you're excited about something and there's this dream that you want to, you go oh my God, I'm interviewing Wayne Dyer's daughter, Tracy. And then she is such an inspiring woman. And then she has such a lovely soul. I really, really like your personality.
Oh, thank you.
And it must be, is it because of your father?
Probably, a little bit.
Did he have to? A little bit, see?
Yeah.
So does he inspire you?
He does. He inspires. Yeah, he's very inspirational. I mean, as a child, it's a little bit of a struggle sometimes to have a father like that. He's in the limelight, and he's, Mr. Perfect, and he's Mr. Wonderful, and there are times when he loses his marbles a little bit too, and gets a little bit upset, and as he jokes around, why would anybody buy a book from someone who would yell at their 10-year-old daughter to hurry up?
I love that. And then
he's-
he always talks about you.
Yeah.
And in his stories are just so wonderful. It makes us laugh when we're sitting in the audience. He's just the way he looks at things, and then he talks about, my favorite part is about your two sisters. Which one was that? The bra.
The bra story? Summer and Serena, yeah.
Tell them what is that story.
Yeah, my sister Serena sat down at the table for breakfast one morning and asked my sister Summer, if you didn't have feet, would you wear shoes? And she's not necessarily the best morning person, nor am I. So she was grumpy and not wanting to deal with her sister who was 2 years younger than her, and just annoyed at her. And she's like, well, what do you mean? That's the stupidest question ever. If I didn't have feet, I wouldn't wear shoes. And Serena said, well, then why are you wearing that bra? And my dad about fell off the table. He was laughing so hard. He's like, oh my God, I got to go get a pen and paper and write that down. That's brilliant. He always says that he follows us around for all of his inspiration. So
yes, I love that. So what it is to me, so when you see those imperfections when he's home and then he's teaching the world, so what do you say to that? He has those moments too.
Yeah, everybody does. Yeah, he very much walks his talk as much as is humanly possible, but he's human and he loses it every once in a while too. But I mean, it was the bigger struggle probably for all of us as children was how much he traveled when we were younger. He was gone a lot, and he speaks and he leaves and writes, and he has to go. And
you didn't understand. He goes we're home here, Dad. Take care of us first.
Yeah.
You need to spend time with us.
Right.
But he goes no, I need to go fix the world. Okay, you
guys. He has a calling for the work that he wants to do.
Yes.
And he has to go out there and do it. And
he has this bigger duty that he feels towards us. ببینید عزیز، ما میخوایم که یگان وقت همیشه ما میگم که ما باید مسئولیت بپذیریم و ما تنها برای خود we don't just belong to ourselves, we belong to the universe, and in whatever you do, your calling, your purpose, you have to look outside of you. You need to come out of like your own world. اگه کسی selfish باشه, just if you think about yourself only, Dr. Wayne Dyer made it long time ago. He had all the money, he could just retire and say, hey, you know what, I made the money, I have a good life, so you know what, I'm done with this, I'll just go have fun, I'll spend time with my children. But no, that's not why he started whatever he's doing. That's not why he wanted to do it. He didn't do it because of the money. He really followed his dream. He really followed his purpose. He really found out why he came here and what he should do for the universe, for the humanity. And all of that, that really is a big sacrifice by itself that we don't often see. And then as children, it's really hard to understand what your parents are doing, and you go like, hey, like my daughter Ruby, she always tells me the one thing that she cracks me up. She goes, what do you think you can do with your little woman body? There's so many guys in your country. The world came together to fix your country and bring peace in Afghanistan. They failed, and you with your little woman body, forget it, mom. Like, you know what, why don't you do something with your life? She says that to me, and then right the day when she said that to me, you know what happened? Do you know Malala Yousafzai, the girl who was shot in the head by Taliban in Pakistan?
Yep.
That was the day she said that to me. In the morning, I woke up and I saw the news, and I woke her up and I go, honey, look, a little woman's body. What can
look what this little woman's body did?
She's only 15, and I said, you're 14, so get ready, honey. And
Chop chop. When you can't change the circumstances around you, you're forced to change yourself.
Exactly.
When you change yourself, the things around you change.
Will change. And I love that saying. Yes, I can never say that enough. And I always remind myself, it's hard. You know what? Sometimes you're in this. I have gone through a lot in my life, and now I have come to this understanding, like my inside, like everything around me, it's so beautiful and peaceful if I work with me.
Yeah.
And then the minute I turn this here and I change how I feel about things, about world, about your story. One thing is like losing your story, and then when you're coming from a place of victim, that's the worst thing. Mm-hmm. And then that's what I loved when I read the books and I read the stories. When your father says, Dr. Wayne Dyer, that everything that happens in your life, it's for people that show up in your life. They are your teachers and your masters. Mm-hmm. And then he even talks about like picking your parents, picking your children.
Oh yeah, he very much believes that.
He believes that, and I believe that, and I want to tell you a story. Like, I picked Ruby before she was born. I had a dream, and then out of 3 babies, like they told me, go find your baby. And I picked her up the minute she was born. I was shocked, and I just wanted to run from the hospital. This baby that I picked out of 3 babies, it was the Ruby that I have today.
Yeah.
But she fooled me. So she had her eyes closed, and she's so beautiful, gorgeous. And I said, honey, if you only had your eyes open, I would have picked one of the other ones.
Then I would have known. The fire would have shown.
Yes, it would have shown.
Yeah.
And then I truly believe that everything happens in your life, it's for a reason. Mm-hmm. And then the life is a teacher. It's a journey to find who you are, to find yourself. For me, that has been my journey. And forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness and all of that. So tell me about your life. What are the challenges you have had? And tell them how many times you have failed. Or have you had those days where you said, okay, you know what, I'm going to really listen to what my father teaches? Or did you say, you know what, whatever he talks, it's just like, it's just all for people to buy the books or to do his speaking career?
Well, my sisters and brothers and I do laugh a lot of times at him, because sometimes he'll come downstairs for breakfast and have, be espousing something, and we're like, blah, 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 whatever, Dad, shut up. Just like any kid and any parent. You're like, yes. Well, you think you're so brilliant. Well, let us tell you.
Yeah.
But we've, it's also just a kind of a culture and the kind of philosophy. When you're raised that way, yes. It's hard to believe anything else. I always tell my friends who are recovering Catholics or recovering alcoholics or going through some, a serious struggle of a change where they have to change the way they, from if you're, and I don't mean to criticize the Catholic religion, I'm just using it as an example. If you're raised in one kind of religion and one kind of dogma to believe a certain thing, and then as an adult you choose to step away from that, that's a big change, and it's a big struggle to make in your life. And I always give those people a lot more credit than I have, because I feel like I was raised in a philosophy that just always made a lot of sense to me.
Yes.
I'm not stepping away from it. I'm not walking away from a belief that was taught to me one way and then learning something different. I think that's a real struggle.
It is
I
a
really
real
think
struggle.
that's hard to walk away from the identity that you've been raised with, or the things you've known as a child.
Well, luckily yours is so beautiful.
Well, lucky for me.
Yes.
Lucky for me, I chose the right parents this time around.
Yes, you did. I don't
yeah.
know if they chose you or you chose them.
Well, the
in my case,
Buddhist
I chose-
philosophy is that you choose your parents.
But see how my daughter fooled me?
Yeah.
I chose her.
That you choose your parents for the lessons you need to learn in your lifetime.
Yes.
And so my dad will often say that, if he was going to be somebody who was a spiritual teacher and was going to teach independence, that he had to get his little butt in an orphanage so he could really learn the art of independence.
Yes.
And how to be the richest kid in the orphanage. He jokes around about that all the time. But he really had to take care of himself. He had to take care of his older brother, who struggled a little bit more than he did with all of the challenges in their life, and he really, that was his burden, and he really had to change the way he looked at things.
Yes.
And learn to overcome things. And for me, my story isn't as dramatic as his. I was raised by really loving parents in a great environment where I feel like the philosophies that I learned make a lot of sense, and there's nothing that I really want to walk away from as an adult. But all of my brothers and sisters and I struggled with the amount of time my dad traveled, and it was and him being gone, and we had to be separated from him for long periods of time, and it was sometimes he had to miss dance recitals and plays and sporting events and things like that because he was out living his dharma. And it's
did you think it was selfish as a kid? What did you think?
Selfish is a really advanced concept. I don't think kids understand selfish. They are selfish, but they don't understand it. But I don't know that they can project that onto other people. I thought, I just was sad about it. I just wanted him there. And then as I got older, I realized he was living his dharma and doing what he had to do to make sense in his world. And the one thing I have to say is he's always afforded all of us the freedom to do exactly what we want to do.
Good.
And so it's there's never any guilt of come home, do this. It's everybody gets to do exactly what they need to do.
Well, that's a foreign thing for Afghani and Persian people. We always tell our kids that, hey, I want you to be a doctor, I want you to be an engineer, and I want you to do this, do that. And then we don't teach them that, hey, you know what, follow your calling. You need to find out what gifts you came up here with. And then you really need to do that. We just place so much limitations. And we really want, a lot of times, I think, what we do, we want our children to do what we couldn't do.
Yeah.
So we have this big little thing in our heads, and then that was our dream. We couldn't do it, fulfill it, and now we want our children to do it.
Right.
And then we don't understand that, hey, you know what, this kid is like Bible, like this, what, I don't tell my children what to do with their lives, but all I want to teach is with your father's teachings, and then all the other mentors and teachers I have had, from Anthony, Tony Robbins to everyone. I go, you know what, I got it. I hope I got it. But sometimes, when I become that Middle Eastern parent and I look at my daughter and I go well, you have to do this. And she goes, no, Mom, I don't have to do this.
Right. She has to live her own dream and live in her own way. Isn't Khalil Gibran Afghani too? Is he an Afghani?
I don't know.
Do you know Khalil Gibran?
No.
The Prophet?
The Prophet?
The Prophet, the book The Prophet?
No, you know what?
Oh, that's a great book.
Really?
Oh, you should get that book. He's either Afghani or Iranian. Khalil Gibran.
Khalil Gibran.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Khalil Gibran.
She had to say Khalil Gibran. Okay?
Khalil. I didn't say it right. Khalil. The Prophet is a fantastic book of poems, and one of them is about your children. He writes on children, and he says your children are not your children. They're the essence of life's longing for itself.
Yes, wow, that's
And they're not yours. They're not your puppets.
Yes.
You don't get to teach them, you get to teach them, and you
Yes.
get to show them a lot of things, but you don't get to make them into exactly what you want them to be.
I say you're just a guide.
Yeah.
Just be a good guide to your children. I hope you know how to be a good guide. But I just, you know what, if you're a loving parent, if you just give them enough love, unconditional love and support, we put a lot of conditions on our children as Middle Eastern people. This has been my experience, at least. We say, okay, you know what, if you do what I say and in all that I say, then I love you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not a good boy or
Love
a good
comes
girl,
with conditions.
with
yeah.
conditions, it's never. And I love the philosophy of what your father teaches and all the other mentors and masters that I follow and I love. You know what they tell you, and I've learned this, and my life has changed. My relationship has changed with my daughter. The twins, they're very easy. They're loving. They're peaceful. But my daughter, she has this little attitude. She's like, she has her own mind. She's a very strong-willed, and she is very wise. She is really wise. I cannot really say something stupid to her. I have to really think twice before I talk to Ruby. So my relationship changed after I made this shift within me, and I said, you know what? I am just going to act that I am here for you, loving you and supporting you no matter what you do. But I'll tell you what you do, I may not like what you do, I may not love what you do, because I'm just not happy because how you're hurting yourself or how you're just putting yourself through all this. But I love you. I really love you. No matter what happens, I'm there for you. I love you. But the things that you do, I may not like it. And I always teach them, don't lie to me. Whatever happens, come tell me. I may get mad for that second. I may yell and scream for like loud, please put up with that. But I am the one that I care the most, and I will get you out of that trouble.
Right.
And then that has made the world's difference to me. Now I have this beautiful relationship with my daughter that I'm closer to her than ever before. And I thank all those people here in America. I'm thankful that, you know what I did, I read as many books as I could. I listened to as many teachers as I could. I got my hands on videotapes. I went to seminars. I spent so much money on seminars, but every time you go through different levels of life, so I went to like Tony Robbins, and it's all like this, that, and I'm like, oh, when I went to the seminars, and I'm like this Middle Eastern girl, and I'm so shy, and I don't want to like jump up and down and all of that craziness. Then by the time I came across Wayne Dyer and all the other teachers that I love, and I found myself, and I go, you know what, this is where I belong. This is the type of teaching I want. That's more, you know what, it's about life and this effortlessness of life. Tony Robbins is like, it teaches you more to struggle.
Yeah,
You know what?
he definitely has a different approach, but he has a lot of great things to say too. I mean, he's got a really interesting, aggressive approach, pushing
it's so
yourself
tense.
past your boundaries and things like that.
Yes.
And it might not be for everybody, but he's a really smart man.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
he is.
I like him a
But
lot.
what he has done with his life, and then how much impact he has made on everyone. It's really good, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah,
it really
it
depends
isn't necessarily for
the
you.
phase of life you're going through. I was in my 20s, and I needed Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
He has helped me.
Yeah.
But then I go, you know what? I'm going through a different phase now.
Right.
So now I'm more into spirituality.
You don't seem like a shy Middle Eastern girl to me. You were very... the first
She
minute
does not
I met you,
she does not know my story. She does not know my story. I was the one that I could not speak up in my classroom. When the teacher said my name, I would lose my voice.
Really? Well, you've come a long way, baby.
Yes, a long way. And I didn't believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a lot of Afghani families, Middle Eastern families. I am not saying this to put Middle Eastern people or Afghani people down, but this is a reality of life. One thing I want to say to my audience, you know what, we're living these different lives. We're doing other things, then we come back and then we are pretending that we're all good, it's perfect. We need to embrace all those things, and we need to understand and acknowledge it, what we do wrong, so we can fix it. But if we're in denial that, oh, you know what, it's all good, it doesn't happen. So in a lot of families, there's name calling. Okay, even like the closest person to you, like even your mother or your father, not really my father or mother, but siblings, they call you names, they tell you stuff, they talk about your skin, they talk about this, that. I was really sensitive, and I believed all of those. For the longest time in my life, I didn't have like any self-confidence. I didn't like myself. I could not accept myself. I believed everything they said about me.
Yeah.
And I became that person.
Yeah.
I had so much, resentment in me. And I started to be this person that I hated myself.
Yeah.
And nothing I did was good enough. And I was out there trying to please everyone, from my mom to everyone. And it was never, everything I did, it was never enough.
I don't know that that's unique to Middle Eastern people or Middle Eastern philosophies.
No, it's not.
I think that exists.
So that's what I wanted.
It's everywhere.
It exists, but you know what? The impact that it makes on people, and how, like, if you don't get out of it, pretty much, like, you will not. You have placed all these limitations. You have listened to what people say, and then you really think that you can't do anything with your life.
Yeah.
So you're everybody else's opinion, instead of
and
being
comparing yourself.
Comparing yourself. Then when I found out, and I go, you know what? I told a few years ago, in my opinion, I was the ugliest girl on the face of this earth. I did not. If somebody said, "Oh, Sophie," they give me a compliment. They said, "Oh, you look nice," and I would think, you know what? It's written on my forehead. They must be seeing the American people. They're just so nice. You know what? They know that I'm so ugly, but they're telling me like, "Oh, Sophie, you look nice." I didn't believe that, and I'm admitting this on tape, but I don't want to tell people. They think I'm crazy or something, because how could you? Okay, at least what I want to teach women out there, even Afghani people, a lot of Persian people, Afghani people, that's how they think. I'm not the only one thinking that way. There's a lot of them that they do not believe in themselves. They think that they're not pretty enough, they're not smart enough, they're not good enough. So I want all of that. So then when I looked at I looked at myself and I go, okay, you know what? If whatever I am, it's me. I have myself. I have to embrace myself. I have to love myself. Then my next thing is to teach women how to love themselves. And then the minute I made that shift, the minute everything around me changed. How people treated me changed.
Yeah.
Because everyone will look at you how you treat yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
And then they become an instant mirror, and they will just treat you the way you want. And you do not believe that I'm shy. I'm telling you, I hated cameras. The first day, the first show I went on somebody else's show. They invited me. I was in the hallway, and then there was like literally a minute left before we went on air. I went in the hallway, and I said, I'm not going to do it. I wanted to walk away from this, and I go, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Here, I was like literally dying. There was this sickness. I thought I was just going to vomit. So I went on the show, and I said, okay, you know what, it's good. I have so much I've learned that I want to give, but I'm just sitting on my own way, and I'm getting on my own way not to do something for you guys. So what inspired me, my message and what I want to teach and how I want to inspire you, then I got out of that, and I said, like, forget it. You know what? It's not about me. It's about what I want to teach, what I want to do. I want to be of service. So after 2 minutes on the show, I forgot that I was on camera.
Yeah, there you go.
But every now and then, I still come back to that spot. What is that?
I don't know, because you didn't come across as shy to me. I met you, and 30 seconds later, you were handing me your card and saying, I do a television show for Persian and Afghani women, and I want you to come over and do this interview. And I said, I'm only in San Francisco for a week, and you said, we'll make it work, and you got it done. And I mean, you don't come across as shy to me, so.
I have come a long way.
Yeah, you have come a long way.
A long way. I really want to go back to her story of this company, and I know what inspired her, because she has a calling and she's following her calling. But did you have any doubts? Did you have like, what if, and then I spend the money and then it doesn't work? And then how did you come up, like, did you design them yourself? How are you involved in the process? I want you to talk to my women or my audience and tell them, like, if they have an idea,
Yeah.
and what's the first thing, what's that key ingredient that they have to put that idea to work for them?
Yeah. I tell people all the time that if they want to start a business, they need to learn how to become problem solvers. And I was frightened. I had that same kind of fear that everybody has. And I know people say that to me all the time. How could you be afraid? Your father's Wayne Dyer. I mean, what would you be afraid of? And I was, you're just afraid of failure. You're afraid of putting yourself out there and being rejected. You're afraid of investing a lot of money and losing it. And there's definitely, everybody's got that. It's just that people always say to me, like, oh, do you get up and speak in front of audiences? And I'm like, oh God, it's I mean, I've done it, but it scares me. It's definitely scary. It's intimidating to get up and speak. And then people ask me all the time, do you sing like your sister? And I'm like, oh God. She sings, I draw. She can't draw, I can't sing. So no, I'm a horrible singer.
That is funny.
Yeah.
So you had all those doubts, and you had the fear of losing all the money, and you said, you know what if it doesn't work? You had the fear of rejection. That, it's like, putting yourself out there, and you're afraid of like people saying and talking about you that, oh, she couldn't do it, she started this company. So why does that matter so much to us?
I don't know. It's a really, I think it's a very universal thing. That's not something that is unique to Americans or unique to Middle Easterners or Europeans or anything. There's always that fear of rejection and that fear of failure and that fear of being embarrassed, and you kind of have to get past it, and
once you get past that, then you will see.
Well, you have to start making steps. You have to start. I always tell people you have to start taking steps into the direction of your dreams.
Yes.
And it's and it might not be quitting your job and going hog wild all of a sudden. Life gets in the way sometimes. You have responsibilities. You have things that you have to do. And so sometimes you just have to take steps in that direction. And, I always thought, well, if I don't try, I'll never know.
You'll never know.
I can play it safe.
Yes.
And I can certainly play it safe and do this for 40 years and retire. And I had a great education, and I had a great job, and I had a great life, and I loved the work that I did. I used to work for Best Buy, which is a big retail electronics chain here in the United States. There's 1,200 stores, and I had a great job. I worked in the innovation group and did all kinds of cool, new, innovative stuff, and I had big budgets behind me and resources and things.
Were you happy? Like it was like you were really dragging yourself, and then you didn't feel any passion for what you were doing?
No, I loved what I was doing. I really did.
So now you're really confusing me with life.
I know. Well, I loved what I was doing, but I worked when I was in college. I waited tables, and I used to tell people all the time I loved waiting tables. Like I would go every day, and I would.
She waited tables.
Yeah, I would.
And we don't think this is Wayne Dyer's
Yeah,
story.
I was a waitress and a bartender in college, and I used to walk up to my tables, and I'd be like, "Hi, my name's Tracy. I'll be your waitress today." And I'd sit down, and I'd be like, "What's your name? What's your name?" And I'd ask them questions, and then I'd bring them their food, and I loved waiting tables.
I just love serving people.
I loved meeting people. It wasn't that I loved serving the food or anything like that. I just loved meeting people and just walking.
And you found that was the best place to meet
people. I was like,
and you're making them happy, feeding them. Like
walking up to every table was a new adventure kind of thing. And so
isn't that nice? You go like, the chef is making the food. I'm just going to say, what would you like to have?
What would you like? All I have to do is just write it down and bring it.
Yes.
It's not that hard. And I loved waiting tables. I mean, I kind of have loved every job I've ever had. Well, I shouldn't say that. I didn't love every job I've ever had, but I loved working for Best Buy. I loved what I did. I saw a need in the marketplace for better bags.
Yeah.
I was working on the launch of the Geek Squad brand, which, do you know that brand?
Yes.
They do computer repair, and we were acquiring that company, and I was working on the launch, and we were actually doing focus groups with women all across the country, asking them how they would react to people coming to their homes to fix their computers, to set up
technical issues.
Wireless networks and things like that, and we were getting consumer feedback on that. And I used to hear women constantly complaining about the lack of cool laptop bags, and I was like, really?
Wow.
Like, we wouldn't even bring up the laptop bags, and they would bring them up. And so I really saw a need in the marketplace, and I loved drawing. But at the time I went to some of the companies that Best Buy was working with to try to get them to develop a line of products for women, because pretty much you'd get like a black ballistic nylon laptop bag, and
Yes.
that was kind of all that was out there. And women love to carry
Something
beautiful
that's
things.
nice,
And,
attractive, goes with your clothes, and it's like feminine.
Yeah.
And you don't want to carry one of those, like you're wearing this really nice dress, and then you're like, you think that, hey, you know what, I'm like, and then you have this bag like rolling down, and you see it's not as attractive. It just kills it. Like if you're wearing this really nice dress and then you're wearing some like really ugly shoes. That's how I look at bags.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know why the market was so late. Like women's business clothing changed years ago, and to be to focus on the way that women wanted to dress, but for some reason tech bags were really late to the game.
Yes.
And they were very much designed for men, and they
But
were
good for you. You know what? It's about seeing opportunities. You saw that opportunity and you go, you know what? This is what we need. And then you found the need.
Yeah.
And then that's what you delivered. You delivered what people, so it's all about being of service.
Yeah.
So you found what people needed and you said, okay, let me go do that for them.
Right.
And then that's what inspired you. Again, it was not about you. It was like more is like, how can I make your life easier, and how I can make you feel better about what you're carrying.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean,
what
why
it was.
can't your bag be as beautiful as your clothing or your shoes or your hair or anything else that women like that is beautiful? Why can't there be something designed for women and the way that women need to travel, and the way that, and women are often the Sherpas in American culture. They carry all their they carry their husband's wallet and phone and keys, and because men don't carry bags here.
You know what? And we carry so many things that we don't even use. Where you don't. Like,
Oh, yeah,
if you,
I know,
If
it's
you lift
crazy.
my bag, it's just like God. It's like rocks
Just
in there.
just in case you might need
just in
something.
case,
And
just in case.
women carry bags just in case.
Just in case,
They have to
exactly.
have room for all the just in case things, and they're the
And
organizers.
you came up with that,
Yeah.
with that idea. And now, like, was that so? A lot of people, they think of a business and they want to do. They have a lot of Afghanis and Persian people, and all these women. They're so talented in making clothes, jewelry, or any product. They have ideas, but they have so many of like, oh, but I can't do this. I can't do that. This. Did you come up like you said? Okay, you know what? How am I gonna? You are not a designer.
I was not. No.
You were not a designer, and then you had to go outside and then search for those resources and find your resources. Somebody who could help you with the design, somebody who could help you with how you're going to get this material, where it's going to be made, and then how it's going to be shipped, and all of that. You just have to, all you had to do is take action and let me go find out, because when you have a question, you got to go look for that answer, and that's what you did.
I did. The dirty little secret about the fashion industry that people don't realize is it just isn't as complicated as it seems to be.
Yeah.
And I didn't go find a designer. I started drawing bags. And
did.
I literally, I started working with companies that Best Buy was working with at the time, and I kept trying to get them to create a line of bags that were more appropriate for women, and they basically kept coming back to me with modified diaper bags. And I would literally sit in a meeting and get infuriated, and I was like, I don't want to carry a diaper bag to work. I mean, most women, when they're done with their diaper bag, they basically want to light it on fire and just be done. I don't ever want to touch that bag again. And so I'm like, don't bring me a modified diaper bag. Don't demean women
So they
that
couldn't
way.
get their vision for a long
Well,
time.
it kept coming back with like lacy, frilly, pink bags, and I was
Yeah.
like, women don't carry bags like that. I kept saying to them, go home, look at the bag your wife carries, look at the handbag she carries, make it look like that,
Yes.
but put padding in it. It can't be
Yeah.
this hard, And it got to the point where I started to literally pull out pieces of paper and draw the bag, and
So
I would
that's
sketch it for
your
them and
drawing.
say, go
Your
make
drawing
this.
techniques, that's when it came.
Well, and then I was like, well, if I'm doing this for them and they're coming back to me with something that makes sense, why can't I go do this?
Yes.
So I figured out that that's all I really needed to do was learn how to sketch the bags the way that they needed to be drawn. And there are people out there who can, when I say I didn't go find a designer, I designed the bags. Somebody else engineers them for me. So the
Okay.
companies that I use to manufacture, they do the structural engineering
And
for
it's
me.
done inside the U.S. or it's outside the
No,
U.S.?
I manufacture overseas in China. So
In China.
when I first
The famous China.
I know.
The great
I
wall of
I
China.
know. Everybody manufactures in China. I wish we could manufacture here. There's two problems. One, it's very hard to find factories here for people that sew, though I'm on a panel of group in Minneapolis that's doing something about that. And then it's very hard to find eco-friendly materials here in the United States because Europe is so far ahead of us in terms of green materials. But when I first started the company, I actually started manufacturing in Italy, and I did leather bags, and they were beautiful, but they were very expensive. And the euro was so unstable, and so it was very difficult to build a business around that. And when that started, when the economy went south in the U.S., I had to rethink how I was going to keep my business going. And so I started researching eco-friendly materials, and I realized that I had to look at what was being done in Europe because they're so far ahead of us. Wow. They banned PVC 10 years ago, and they have the most strict standards in the world for truly like green certifications are all the European certifications. So I went over there and I started researching the materials that were developed, and I realized that all of the materials being developed for the European market were being developed in China for the European market. So I went to China. And I found the materials, and so now we use a coated canvas that is PVC free, and it's so it's a biodegradable, eco-friendly coated canvas, and it allows us to use just 100% cotton canvas. We can do it in any color, and then the coating that we put on it makes the bags water resistant and strong, and kind of gives it a fun sheen. And then all of our lining material is made from recycled plastic water bottles.
Yes, I was gonna get to that, and I go like, correct me if I'm wrong. He said that they were made out of plastic bottles.
They are, yep. It's a complicated process. The bottles are they take all the paper and the glue and everything off of the bottles, and then they spin the bottles at a really high rate, and they turn the bottles into thread, and the thread is woven into fabric, and then they use azo-free dyes to dye the fabric, and it turns into almost like a nylon. It feels like a nylon. It behaves like nylon, but it's very water resistant, and it's very stain resistant because it used to be a plastic water bottle.
Yeah, and you're helping the environment with that. So where are you getting the plastic bottles from?
Well, there's only one factory in the world that makes the plastic water bottle fabric. It's in Taiwan, and it's quite an investment that they've made to do this. And they're now, but it's an amazing process.
But look what. When you have an idea, you will make something out of nothing.
Yeah, you find, and my dad. One of the things my dad always says is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And it's amazing the things that just fell into my lap when I started looking around, and just asking questions. And I mean, Did you get to the point that you go like, you know what, forget this, I'm gonna quit. This is too hard. What was your focus? You were looking at your goal, and you were not worried about all these processes where it's hard. Okay, now who's going to call this person? Who's going to get this? Well, you know what? There's too much work into this. Did you get to those days? Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to say that it's always easy. There's a lot of, another thing about owning your own business and starting your own business is you have to be willing to wear a lot of hats.
Yes.
And you have to, it's not an overnight success. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 7 years now.
7 years.
And it took 4 years before we even turned any kind of a profit. So we lost money for 4 years, which is kind of common and something that sometimes people just can't afford to do that.
But you didn't give up, because the thing is, like, if we start losing money the first year, the 6 months, we go like, this business is not working. We just okay, close it.
Well, I also didn't just do that. I also still did some freelance work. I did consulting and stuff to earn money so that I could keep this business going. So I freelanced for ad agencies and did strategy and brand development work and stuff that I know I could get paid to do in order to continue to fund this. And so but yeah, there were definitely some dark days, especially when I switched from manufacturing in Europe to manufacturing in China. Did you have to learn Chinese to do that? No, thank God. I know about as much Chinese as I know Farsi, which is ni hao, and shay shay. But no, thank God. So one advantage that as an English-speaking American we have is that English is the language of business, and so you're lucky that if you speak English, you can understand and you can communicate with a lot of the world. We're spoiled that way, so I'm lucky. I haven't had to learn too much too much Mandarin.
How many languages do you speak other than English?
I speak English and French.
Yes.
I studied in France, and then I understand Italian pretty well because I manufactured over there. But I really learned a lot of colors and numbers and certain phrases in Italian. So if you start discussing certain things in Italian, I can business in Italian, I can understand you. If you start discussing nature in Italian, I'm lost. But I speak French, so French allows you to understand Spanish and Italian and a lot of those languages.
بیننده‌های عزیز، خدا کنه که همه شما این اینترویو را انجوی کرده باشین. من میخوایم از تریسی دایر پرسان کنم که در کدام جایا امی پرسای خود نشان بده، هند بگز خود نشان بده که چی درست کرده. و من میخوایم یک بگش ما خودم خریدم او رو براتون نشان بدم و دیگه براتون بگم از کجا میتونین گرفته، چه رقم میتونین از این دسکاولایی که اینا درست میکنه، متریالش رو براتون اکسپلین کرد که از کدام متریال ساخته شده و در عین وقتی که میخواد که یک کار خوب میکنه، پیسه هم جور میکنه، در عین وقت امی انوایرمنت ای کمک میکنه. یک کار کسی که برای میکنه که هم انوایرمنت خوب باشه و هم یک استفاده خوب از او شوه، برای شما خانم‌ها دسکاول یا هندبگز یا درست میکنه. من فکر میکنم که باید ساپورت کنیم. کل ما میریم مثلا لوی ویتان میگیم، گوچی میگیم، میگیم like $17,000-$2,000 we spend on a handbag. And why do we pay that?
Status.
Louis Vuitton. And this is going to be our urban
Junket.
I can't even say urban. How do you say urban?
Urban Junket.
Urban Junket is going to be the Louis Vuitton. That's my vision for Tracy and her brand, and I want to ask her what's her vision for this company, and I want her to show you one of the bags she has brought, and I have the one I bought from her. I'm like really excited about it.
Oh, okay.
And then I want you to tell my audience where can they find your bags,
Okay.
and then the website, and then how, where, and then talk about like pricing, and then قیمتاش بسیار قیمتای خوب است. Prices are so reasonable. I couldn't believe it. I was like almost afraid to go there and ask the price, and I said I really didn't introduce myself by that time, so I went and I go like, let me look at the price first, because this is Dr. Wayne Dyer's daughter, so it must be more expensive than Louis Vuitton. So
No. We try to make bags that are affordable for people that are on the go and people that are traveling. So our bags start at $14, and they go up to $289. And we have a line of bags that has built-in batteries in them, so you can recharge. Yeah, okay. They're really cool. So it has a battery that you can charge. It's called the Joey battery, and you plug it into the wall, and you charge that battery, and then you can charge your devices off of that battery for up to 10 days.
Okay, so what devices are the battery is good for?
It'll charge anything that takes USB or micro USB power. So cell phones, Bluetooth headsets, e-readers, tablets, digital cameras, gaming devices.
No laptops?
Nope. Laptops don't take USB power yet.
Okay.
So if you plug into a laptop, you'll charge the battery. You can charge the battery from a laptop.
Yes.
And then, but you can charge the battery, and then you can work off that battery for up to 10 days. It's really powerful, and it runs
That's a
cool.
Really cool
Yeah, it's really
feature.
It's really cool, especially when you're traveling, when you're on a plane.
That was really smart.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, our bags are available we're in about 700 stores across the United States and Canada. And we are mostly in boutiques and travel stores and gift stores and things like that. And then we also have our bags available on our website, which is urbanjunket.com.
urbanjunket.com. از یادتان نره برین ببینین دیزاینای مقبولشه. Do you want to show them really quick your purse?
So yeah, here's one of them. This is one of the Power Trips bags that has the built-in battery in it.
This one has it?
Yeah, it has a built-in battery in it. So the battery, I've got my glasses here. The battery comes inside the bag, and you just you plug it into the wall, and then once it's charged, you can charge your cell phone off of it. This one's got an Apple cord on it because I have an iPhone, and when you plug your iPhone in, it starts charging.
Okay, now let me go grab mine and show it to them what I got. بیننده‌های عزیز، یکی از دسکاول ما شما میگم نه، یکی از دسکاول است که تریسی دایر درست کرده، خودش دیزاین کرده. قسمی که بر شما همه پروسس کار خود اکسپلین کرد. من این وقتی که در کنفرانس رفتم، من یک دستگاه کلان کار داشتم. همیشه میرفتم سعی میکردم میگفتم یک چیز باشه که باز لپتاپ ما مانده شه. برای لپتاپ دیدین که لپتاپتان همیشه سنسیتیو میباشه، اگه از جای از پیشتون بفته خراب میشه میشکنه. وقتی که من دیدم که این جای داشته برای لپتاپ. I have my laptop in there. So it has a cool compartment with the padding and support. And you can pretty much fit anything. I went to LA, everything just fitted in this one. This is really cool, and it has this little makeup bag, I call it. Mm-hmm. Is it for makeup? Or I put my cell phone and keys because I don't want to just dig in my purse.
And sometimes, I mean, the reason I put these on, I attach these to the bags, is so that you could take, if you're traveling, you could take that with you. You can attach this to the bag, and then maybe if you're just going out to dinner and you don't want to take your whole bag with you, you can just take this.
This is
so you can
cool.
take just your cell phone and your room key and your lip gloss or whatever you need with you, and then you can just take this to dinner, or you can use it for cords. People use it for any number of things. So clips onto the bag. You can use it inside the bag.
It's so practical, so simple, and the design is so beautiful. The colors, I love this color. It's really,
thank you. Yeah,
it's really beautiful.
Yeah, they come in 9 colors. Ironically, we
colors?
both have red ones here today, but they're they come in 9 colors. So there's usually a color for everybody. And
yes, and this is my color. Red is my color.
Is it?
Yeah, it's my color.
It's the power color.
Yeah, it is the power color. Let me show you. It has more features. You can hold it like this, and
you can turn it into a backpack.
For women, Ignite conference, we had 29 speakers.
Yep.
During those 2 days, every one of them, their core message, if you really look, it's about love.
Yeah.
And I love it. And then most of them, they knew about Rumi and his concept and the poems and all of that. And I was sitting there every time they said, or they read a poem from Rumi, I was like, I wanted to jump. And I go,
Rumi's from Afghanistan.
Rumi's from Afghanistan. Wait, you have to ask me for my permission if you could read that.
I own the rights to Rumi.
Yes. And then, what's your core belief? What's your concept of life?
Well, I don't know if you I didn't get to hear all of the speakers because we had a booth there where we were selling bags, so I was able to hear some of them and go in and out. But I know that a lot of them also talk about the Course in Miracles, and which is
Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, which is an amazing. She teaches the Course in Miracles, but it's an amazing learning process to understand the Course in Miracles too. And it's the Course in Miracles will tell you there are only 2 emotions. There's love and there's fear.
Yes.
And all that is fear is not love, and all that is love is not fear.
Not fear.
And so when you start thinking about, doing something like this, and you become afraid, that can monopolize your thinking and get in your way. And if you can turn that around and you can turn it into love, or just a belief that you can do it, or just a belief that you can take that next step.
Well, you know what, this concept of being a woman and you can't do much is probably not familiar to you, but a lot of times for the Middle Eastern culture, for the Afghani culture, you think because you're a woman you can't do much with your life, and there's so much limitation. But sometimes they can, but it's just a perception in general that, oh, I'm a woman and I can't do this, I'm a woman and I can't do that. They are so powerful, and in these women, they're so intelligent. They're full of art. But what bothers me, I sit down there and I go like, I wish they could express all the gifts that they have, and they could deliver it, and they could just do something with it, because you are given those gifts for a reason. If you do not act on it, if we will never be able to see it, and it's not going to materialize. And then do not have the fear. It's like you're born here and then you're like, you have no idea, you go like, hey, you know what, do you think you have as much power as a man has? And then
no, I know I do.
You do, right? But for Middle Eastern women, a lot of times they just don't do anything because they think they're a woman and they can't do anything. So what's your message to them?
Well, just because it's been done that way doesn't mean it can't be done differently.
Exactly.
And, it's like anybody that's done something for the first time, the first person to land on the moon, or the first person to invent the light bulb, or the first person to do anything is the first one to do it. And just because it's been done a certain way doesn't mean it has to continue to be done that way.
Yes.
It certainly is a cultural obstacle to overcome. I am lucky.
Yes.
I chose wisely this time around to be born in a country where I was afforded a lot of freedoms and a lot of opportunities that a lot of people have to overcome a lot more challenges to get to where I was able to get.
So you were talking about Afghanistan a few minutes ago when we were not taping, and I asked you, and you said, "Tell me about what do you feel you don't know much about Afghanistan, but we were talking about that."
Yeah, I asked you what, I don't really have a clear identity of what
Yes.
Afghan people believe in or look like or act like, or I wasn't even positive what language was spoken there.
Yes.
All I know is that it's been a country in conflict for a long time. And it's such I feel like it's very extreme. It's a land of extreme climate.
Yes.
And you have crazy highs and crazy lows, and it's very extreme, but I don't have a really good feel for what Afghani people stand for.
Yes, what they stand for, when you can't really spot one, even if you see them in the crowd. Versus, like I was talking about, how rich the Indian people, their cultures, and how they're embracing it and they're loving it, that they make everyone else fall in love with their culture, with what they do, what they wear, what they worship.
Yeah, and as a global culture, you know a lot about India.
Yes.
I mean, you just know what they stand for and what they believe, and you know a lot about their culture. And you do, well, as an American, we do a little bit more about Iran and Iraq because they've been so either, oppositional to the United States or an ally to the United States. It's been so up and down, and Afghanistan has been a country in struggle for a really, really long time, and it's almost like a blend of so many cultures there that you don't know what it stands for on its own.
Yes,
and
that's a really, really deep message. That's a really something that we really need to listen to this. And I was shocked how she was telling me what's her perception, and in how she cannot really figure out what Afghani people stand for. So we really need to find that place, and that's what I want to change. And I have talked about this, that look how beautiful the Indian culture is, or any other culture, when they embrace it, when they love their culture, when they stand for, like they really stand behind what they are, who they are, that's when everybody else around you will recognize you, will acknowledge you, will love you for who you are, what you are. But a lot of times in Afghani people, I am one of those people that I'm guilty of that. And I don't want to, a lot of times I was running away from my culture, and I didn't want to be perceived as an Afghan, and then it was the terrorist and all of that, and it was after September 9/11, and I just wanted to, they didn't know where Afghanistan was. All of a sudden Afghanistan, like everybody now knows where Afghanistan is. But running away from that culture was the worst thing you can ever do, and if you don't embrace it, it's like you're not proud of who you are.
Yeah.
And you're not authentic. And then we always talk about authenticity, and in the minute you come back to your true self and in who you are, the world around you will notice you, and you go, okay, you know what, this person is authentic, and they love who they are, and everybody else around you will go, they take interest in you. And I want to change that, our culture, and I will hopefully soon enough, and I will bring a lot of things, to the surface for American people to see how beautiful the culture of Afghani people is. The culture, the food, what they stand for, everything that they do, it's so beautiful. I lived in Afghanistan, I was born in Afghanistan, and I left when I was turning 11. I could have forgotten all of that, and I could have said like, oh, you know what, like, no, I don't remember, I was just a little child when I left. But I remember every time, every day, every age. I remember my mom, she gets shocked when I tell her stories when I was like a year and a half old, and she goes, well, I thought you didn't know anything at that time. And I go, no, I remember what you did, and then all these things that happened. I love Afghanistan, I love my country, and I want to do something for Afghanistan, and I want to bring everyone and show this beautiful culture of Afghani people to my American society and my American people. I love America, and my American friends and family. They are the ones that they have supported me to become who I am today, and who I am today I'm very proud and I'm very happy. And they have helped me come out of all those darkness that was inside me, and then all of that I was rejecting. When they showed me how to love myself and accept myself the way I am, because they loved me and accepted me, and they told me, you do not have to be anybody else. We like you and accept you the way you are. And that's what made me to go back to my roots. Then I started and I said, I love who I am. I really don't care how I look. I like my skin. I like my hair. And all of that changed. And then it's so unbelievable that when I go places and I tell them like I'm from Afghanistan, I say it with so much joy. Yes, I'm from Afghanistan. Tracy, it's been such an honor and pleasure to get to know you. And I just can't find words to thank you for making this happen, and then sharing your story, and then sharing more of Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And I just loved it. Like when you were standing there, and then you look at your phone, and then Dr. Wayne Dyer is calling, and I got to talk to him. And you know what I told him? I told him, listen, Dr. Wayne Dyer, I love you, and then since you love Rumi is from Afghanistan, and you got to do something for that country. He goes, let's do this. I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to leave it up to God. We're going to leave it up to God. Yeah. And I know what he means by that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for making this happen, and thank you for being interested in my story. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun to get to know you as well on this beautiful day in Northern California.
Northern California, Botanical Garden. Thank you so much everyone for watching. And once again, بیننده های تلویزیون زرین برنامه سیمای زن، تشکر از توجهتان. خدا کنه که امروز دیگه زیاد هم اینسپایر شده باشین، موتیویتد شده باشین، خصوصا خانما، که you can change your life, or you can change the way you look at life. The way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Thank you very much.
You're watching Zareen TV.